All right, bro. I'm about to share 5 rules that completely changed my life. And I wish someone had told me these when I was younger because it would have saved me years of pain, confusion, and honestly, just being weak in general. And most men never reach their full potential, not because they can't, but because they've never been challenged to step up. They choose comfort over growth. They avoid anything that might expose their weaknesses, and they can promise who they are just to get approval from other people. If you're watching this, you're probably tired of being that guy right now. You're ready to level up. So hit that subscribe button right now if you're serious about becoming the man you know you're supposed to be. Because these 5 rules, they're going to challenge everything you think you know about what it means to be masculine. Look, I joined the Marines straight out of high school when I was 19 years old. Infantry, I thought I was tough, thought I had it all figured out. Deployed to combat zones when I was 20 years old. Went through hell, literally came back thinking I was a man. But here's the thing nobody tells you about military service. It teaches you how to be hard, how to follow orders, how to push through pain. But it doesn't teach you how to navigate relationships. It doesn't teach you how to be honest with yourself or how to build a meaningful life outside of that structure. When I got out, I was completely lost. I mean, I went to school. It took me 7 years to finish my degree. I was a I did get certified as a personal trainer, but I was just coasting through life. I had all this training on how to be a warrior, but zero guidance on how to be a man in the real world. I didn't have any guidance at all. Didn't have father figure around, no one to guide me, mentor me, lean on me, or to lean on and to seek for guidance. I didn't have that. Someone to teach me about integrity, about what real strength looked like outside of combat. You know how many guys I knew in the military that took their own lives because they were depressed, they felt lost, purposeless. So I did what most guys do. I just winged it, right? And I failed miserably. I remember this one situation about 3 years after I got out. I was talking to this girl I really liked, and she started treating me like complete shit, bro. Canceling plans last minute, ghosting, being disrespectful, just walking all over me. And you know what I did? I made excuses for her. Me, a guy who had been in firefights, who had faced real danger before, I was afraid to stand up to a woman who didn't respect me. One night, she literally stood me up for a date we'd planned for days, just ghosted me. And instead of walking away like a man with self-respect, I texted her asking if everything was okay. This girl was like 4 years younger than me. Pathetic, right? That moment broke something in me. I realized that being physically tough doesn't automatically make you emotionally strong. I had become someone I didn't even recognize. I was so desperate for validation, so afraid of being alone. I just wanted a person, so I wanted my person so bad. I had completely abandoned any sense of self-respect or standards, and it's because I hadn't even figured out who I really was. Because after the military, I had to figure out and rebuild myself as a man. The military is like prison. You're institutionalized, indoctrinated into the system, and you have to figure things out when you get out. You have to learn how to reintegrate and figure out who you are. And that's when I realized I needed to go find my own mentors in life. Nobody was going to teach me this stuff. I had to seek out the wisdom I never got growing up. So the first rule that changed everything for me: tell the truth, even when it's easier to lie. In the Marines, there's this concept called integrity under fire. You tell the truth even when it might get you in trouble. But somehow I lost that when I got into civilian life. I started lying constantly, not being truthful with myself. Not big lies necessarily, but little ones. Yeah, I've been working out. Business is going great. I'm totally fine with that. trying to present this image of that I've got it all together. Meanwhile, I'm letting my body go. Meanwhile, I'm skipping workouts. Meanwhile, I have a shitty diet. Meanwhile, I'm freaking doom scrolling, watching porn every day. Meanwhile, I'm freaking making it look like I have it all together when I really don't. Lying to people, lying to myself. And these small lies compound. These small lies compound. And it's like the compound effect, right? Darren Hardy wrote an amazing book called The Compound Effect. The compound effect applies here in a negative way. You stack L's and you stack bad habits and lifestyles, but it also it snowballs, right? But also the compound effect exists in a positive way. But in the sense of these lies, these small lies that you tell others, that you tell yourself, they compound, and eventually you lose touch with reality. Most guys lie constantly because they think it protects them, but it actually makes you weak. You start living in this fantasy version of yourself instead of dealing with who you actually are. And real manhood, if you want to call it that, starts when your identity is no longer based on managing how other people perceive you. It's when you can say, you know what? I haven't been to the gym in a month. I haven't been in 3 weeks. It keeps happening. I've been eating like shit. I haven't been taking the time to meal prep. I'm struggling with discipline right now. That's scary as hell because you have to face yourself, but it's also liberating. And I started doing this about my first mentor, technically, was an actor. I'm not going to say his name, but he's a well-known actor. And he was actually one of my first clients when I was a personal trainer at LA Fitness in 2019. He was my first mentor, taught me a lot about life. Older guy who had built multiple successful businesses, had a successful acting and modeling career, radio career. He said, I'd admit when I was wrong, but when I didn't know something, when I was struggling, I would be honest about it. And I felt like that was really solid advice because you have to be, if you don't know something, go seek a mentor. That was my first mentor. My second mentor was somebody who helped me with my fitness. And I only had $2,000 to my name, maxed out my credit card with it, and it paid dividends. And it was totally worth it. When I started being honest with myself and having standards, people started respecting me more, not less. Having boundaries, because authenticity is rare, bro. I'm telling you, man. Everyone's so used to this performative BS and, social media and Instagram highlight reels, a bunch of fake. When someone actually tells the truth, it stands out. The uncomfortable truth is that admitting your weaknesses openly is the only way to actually improve them. Like when I started on my fitness journey, I started showing people where I was. This is me. Say goodbye to him now. The love handles, the belly fat, everything. This is me. And people connect with that. And you hold yourself accountable. So I say, you don't have to tell everyone about all your goals, okay? But put yourself out there and be a man of your word and hold yourself accountable. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge to yourself. You have to be transparent. And the military taught me to push through pain, but it took a civilian mentor, and a few of them actually, to teach me that vulnerability is actually a form of strength. And for so long, I had a tough time being vulnerable. I fell into the red pill community for about 4 or 5 years and very closed off, very detached. The military hardened me. And it was a civilian mentor that taught me to be vulnerable. It's not weakness. It's a form of strength, okay? The second rule, put yourself in rooms that expose you. When I got out of the service, I thought I could figure everything out on my own. I had survived combat. You know, how hard could civilian life be? Well, I was wrong. Most self-improvement is passive. You watch YouTube videos, you listen to podcasts, you read books, all good stuff. But it's not enough. Real transformation happens when you're around people who will call you on your BS and hold you accountable face to face. I had to actively seek out mentors because I didn't have anyone in my life who could teach me what I needed to know. And I got out of the military in 2014. YouTube had been around for a few years. There wasn't as many resources as there are now available. I joined an online community, a men's group, about a year ago, and older guys who had built successful businesses, strong marriages, who had their lives together, guys who had successful marriages and businesses and bodies and everything. And the first meeting, these guys tore apart every excuse that I had. They called out my victim mentality, my inconsistency, my tendency to make, grand plans and then quit when things got hard. It was brutal. And then I started purging my circle and only having people that were contributing to my growth. If you're the biggest fish in your pond, you're in the wrong place, in your school, in your state, your city, wherever you are, in your social group. But it's exactly what you need, is to be exposed like that. To be around guys who will push you to grow, who will call you out on your bullshit, because someone that wants more from you, someone that believes in you and wants more from you and sees the potential that even you maybe can't see yet, those are the types of people that you want to be around. People who inspire you to be better. People who are crushing it harder than you. See, in the military, you get that kind of direct feedback all the time, right? Your squad leader will tell you exactly where you're screwing up. And there's a lot of toxic bullshit in there too, but in civilian life, most people are too polite, too many snowflakes, too many soft people to give you the truth. When you're alone with your thoughts, you can rationalize anything. You can convince yourself that you're making progress when you're really just staying comfortable. But when you're in a room, when you're in a circle with other men who genuinely want you to succeed, they're not gonna let you lie to yourself, right? So find a mentor. Join a group, get a coach, get plugged in with people that are on the path of ascension, people that are wanting more for themselves, and surround yourself with people, man. Get a mentor. It's the best investments I've ever had in my life. And when I was in the military, I was always one of the smallest guys. And for about 4 years that I was in, I was always training, working out with guys who are bigger, were stronger, and it made me better in the process, right? Start training with someone better than you. Get plugged into a group fitness class. Actually, recently, decided that I'm going to start going to a group fitness class every single morning at 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. Why? Because I have a coach. I have someone to push me, guys that are in there getting after it. I want you to put yourself in situations where your weaknesses get exposed and you have to level up or get left behind. Don't make the mistake I made of trying to figure it all out alone. But just comment below what you've been struggling with lately. I want to know what you've been struggling with the most, because it really helps me to kind of, understand you guys' biggest struggles and create better content for you, because that's why I created The Ascended Man. I want to know where you're at in your journey. All right. Rule number three. And this one is going to hit hard, okay? At least once in your life, walk away from a woman you deeply desire if she disrespects you or crosses your boundaries. But you first have to know what your standards and your values and your boundaries are. You have to know this first. Otherwise, they're going to walk all over you. Relationship I was in for 2 years, actually, when I got out of the military. We lived together, toxic relationship. I let this woman walk all over me. I shouldn't have even, we had a massive fight 3 weeks after dating. I should have walked away then. I'm talking about a woman you're genuinely attracted to, someone you could see yourself with long term. And when she tests your boundaries, I don't care how attractive she is, how good the sex is, whatever, and she will, you need to be willing to walk away without arguing, without trying to change her mind. Just calmly remove yourself from the situation. And this was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn. In combat, I never backed down from a fight. I'd face enemy fire without hesitation. But put me in front of a woman I was attracted to who was treating me poorly, and I just wanted to have love. I wanted my person, and I'd fold like a house of cards because I had no self-respect. I didn't know who I was as a man. I had no standards. I hadn't defined what my boundaries even are. And I had a scarcity mindset. And that girl that I mentioned that stood me up, I should have blocked her number and never looked back. Instead, I chased harder. And every time I did that, I lost a piece of myself. It was like I had all this physical courage, but zero emotional backbone. And one of my mentors, a guy who'd been married for 25 years to an amazing woman, he pulled me aside and he said something that changed my perspective forever. He said, "Son, the same discipline that kept you alive in combat needs to apply to your standards with women. You wouldn't compromise your position under fire, so why are you compromising your self-respect for female attention? And when you walk away from someone who doesn't respect you, even when it hurts, even when it's hard to, even when you want them, you're teaching yourself that your standards matter more than temporary companionship because you don't want to be alone. And you're building real self-worth. And here's the thing too. When you genuinely have standards and you stick to them, you attract better quality people in your life. Women can sense when a man values himself and looks at himself as the prize, and that's attractive, right? But more importantly, you'll respect yourself. And if you don't respect yourself, no one else will. The fourth rule is invest time into something that doesn't pay you yet. I wish I had not been so short-sighted when I, got out of the military. Most guys, especially when they get out of the military, are addicted to instant gratification, and even just a lot of guys in general. I'm not just going to keep this, I'm going to keep this more general, not just military specific and veterans. But so many, you're probably just addicted to instant gratification right now. You think that I just need to have it right now, but it's going to take too long. And what if I don't make it? What if I fail? They want immediate quick wins, fast money, dopamine hits. I get it. You're used to clear mission. If you're in the military, if this resonates, take it. If it doesn't resonate, then leave the rest. But if you're a veteran, you're used to clear missions with defined objectives, but everything meaningful in civilian life requires upfront investment with delayed returns, okay? And that's just how life is in general. I started this YouTube channel knowing it would take months or years before it generated any real income. I spent countless hours learning to edit, writing scripts, figuring out lighting, all while working my regular job. And, I don't do any edits now. Everything is raw here. I have some scripts, some that's, bulleted outlines, but I plan my content. And I have my microphone, a minimalist setup, and this is the kind of content that usually resonates the hardest with guys because they feel like we're just having a conversation here, right? A lot of people in my life thought I was wasting time. I started YouTube. Technically, I started it a couple years ago, but really I started it in January. That's when God told me to start it. And God told me to do it, and I just said, okay, well, let's do this thing, man. Let's figure it out. And I started monetizing within just a few months. I started gaining subscribers, and I've started to switch up the direction of my content that I feel is more comprehensive of who I am and what I've been through and what I'm all about, okay? Used to be a lot of dating content, but I kind of pivoted because it was generating a lot of negativity in my channel. But I've had so many friends and family and people in my life, friends, right? Just so many people that just don't believe in you until you start actually doing something and taking action, right? Why don't you just get a better job, get a better paying corporate job? You know, people would ask that. And I have had a corporate job for the last 4 years now, pretty much for about 4 years. Recently just quit my job, literally to go all in on business and YouTube. I invested $4,000 in a business coach recently. That's fucking scary, man. I burned the ships. People don't understand, man. But that's why you got to get around people and mentors and people who see the vision, people who are doing what you want to be doing. One of my mentors taught me the most valuable things you can build require you to work for months or years and years before seeing any tangible reward. Your body, your skills, your business, your reputation, all of these take time. And when I started YouTube, I did it because I just wanted to help. And I said, you know what? I just want to do this, man. And if I can't grow at all, I'll give it 10 years. I'll give it 10 years. If I can't grow at all in 10 years, then maybe I'll throw in the towel. Okay. But, you know, a regular job, the military gives you a paycheck every 2 weeks. Your job that you're working gives you a paycheck bi-weekly probably. But real wealth building doesn't work that way. It's skill sets, and it's literally 5-10 plus years of dedicated blood, sweat, and tears, man. And all these guys, you know, who chase short-term rewards, they stay broke, they stay stuck and unfulfilled. But the guys who can delay gratification or stay the course for meaningful goals that speak to their soul, they eventually win everything. Start something today that won't pay off for at least 6 months. Maybe it's, you know, learning a skill, building a side business, or completely transforming your physique. At least 6 months. But it takes years, though. You got to understand it takes years. But when you start seeing wins, small wins, they add up, and that gives you fuel, okay? But the key, the most important part, is just staying consistent, even when you can't see progress yet. Even when you're working on your physique, I tell people all the time that I've coached, it's going to take at least 12 to 16 weeks, man. Right? That's why you do a front, back, and side pick when you start. And you take the same picture from the same spot every month. Trust the process, bro. Trust the process. The compound effect is real, but it requires the same kind of persistence you learned in the military. If that resonates with you, just apply differently, right? And it requires the same kind of persistence that anything you've done in your life. Finishing college, leveling up in your career, but maybe you're unfulfilled now. My final rule, and this might be the most important: consciously choose your suffering. Combat taught me that pain is inevitable in life. You're going to suffer no matter what. That's non-negotiable. Jordan Peterson even says, I'm not going to misquote him, but he even says something along the lines of, like, life is suffering. You're going to suffer, right? It's non-negotiable. But here's what I learned through my journey. I had actually been choosing my suffering my entire life. I just didn't realize it. I chose the suffering of joining the Marines straight out of high school, and most of my friends went to college and had fun. I chose the suffering of infantry training, of deployments, of being away from my family. And you know what? That choice made me stronger. After I got out, I chose the suffering of becoming a fitness model. I chose the suffering of cutting people out of my life, being lonely and not having any friends for at least a year to fix my body, kill my credit card debt, and start a business. I chose the suffering of leaving LA Fitness as a personal trainer and starting my own personal training business during COVID. I chose the suffering of having commission-only sales jobs, getting my body fat down to single digits, doing fitness modeling, meal prepping every day, or, you know, every week rather, once or twice a week, training twice a day for periods of time, working out for 2 plus 3 hours a day to get to where I wanted to get to get, you know, I chose the suffering of getting up at 4:30 in the morning for a year straight to go train. When I started YouTube, I was in the lab for like 3 months planning my content, reading and writing and just going within and prayer and, you know, saying no to, you know, social events because I had to stick to my diet. Most guys wouldn't make those sacrifices, but I chose that suffering because I wanted the result more than I wanted comfort. Comfort is short-sighted. And then I chose the suffering of starting my own business again with doing YouTube and hiring a business coach or working 80-hour weeks, reinvesting every dollar back into the business, right? Living on ramen noodles and, you know, chicken and rice and basic easy stuff because I didn't have any money for a period of time, while building something from nothing. My friends thought I was crazy for leaving a steady paycheck in the past, family, to chase an uncertain dream, but everything, you know, it's uncertain, right? We don't know. But you have to believe. You have to have an unwavering amount of self-belief. It's like I think about Conor McGregor before he was even a UFC fighter and he was broke in Ireland struggling with his girl. He said, I'm going to be a UFC champion. And look at the guy now. It's this unwavering amount of self-belief that you have to see the vision. You have to see yourself as the man before you become it. And here's also what I realized. In the Marines, we had a saying, pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. But I didn't understand how to apply that. I didn't understand how to, you know, apply that philosophy in the civilian life until I found mentors who could show me. And you can suffer the pain of discipline, or you can suffer the pain of regret. You can suffer the discomfort of difficult conversations, or you can suffer the pain of never being truly known. You can suffer the temporary embarrassment of failing at something you care about and exposing yourself because you're being authentic. Or you can suffer the permanent regret of never even trying. That's my biggest fear in life, is not giving this thing everything I have, man. Because look, here's the reality. Most people, average age, they die 75, men, right? If you're in your 34, 35, you're already middle aged. Think about that. And masculinity isn't about avoiding pain. It's about choosing which pain is worth it. And when you start selecting your struggles based on what will make you stronger in the long term and more aligned with your values, everything changes. I chose the suffering of starting over socially, cutting toxic people from my life, and building genuine relationships. I chose the suffering of admitting my weaknesses to myself and those close to me, my mentors and my brothers, and working on them instead of hiding my weaknesses. I chose the suffering of discipline over the suffering of disappointment. And the only ways to truly fail at anything are to quit early or never start. Everything else is just feedback, right? The military taught me to push through physical pain. Fitness modeling taught me to push through mental barriers, and, you know, starting my own business taught me to push through financial uncertainty. But my mentors taught me to choose emotional and spiritual growth even when it hurts. Listen to me right now. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I'm just talking to you right now, the guy that was fresh out of the Marines who thought being tough meant never showing weakness, who had no idea how to navigate relationships or build a meaningful life, I tell him this. I tell him this right here. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're just getting started. And it's up to you to take control. But you have to understand you are living below your potential because you're trying to figure everything out alone. There's so many resources available. You think you don't need help because you survived combat, or you don't think you need help because, I can figure it out. But emotional intelligence and life wisdom are completely different battles. Like literally that require different weapons. The same courage that got you through a deployment maybe, or the same courage that got you through college, that got you through the job, anything that you've done, you need to apply that to seeking out mentors, to being vulnerable, to standing up for your standards, even when it costs you something that you want. And you've already proven you can choose meaningful suffering. I'm sure you've done it in your life before. Right? Maybe you got your body in good shape before. You've done it before in one area. I'm sure there's one area you've done it. Maybe you built a business and there's other areas that need work. But now you need to apply that same principle to your relationships, your emotional growth, your character development. You need to apply that in every area of your life. And the truth is, you have everything inside you right now to build an incredible life. You've already proven that you can handle pressure at one point or another, that you can push through when things get difficult, but you need guidance from men who have walked the path you want to walk. Don't waste years like I did trying to be, trying to figure everything out on my own. Like, don't do that. Like, don't try to be a lone wolf for years. I was a lone wolf for years. Find your tribe, find your mentors, and most importantly, start applying the same discipline that maybe you learned in the military. Maybe you learned the same discipline in another area of your life, right? To building the life you actually want as a whole. Okay? So that's all I got for you guys today, man. If this video hit you where you needed it, I want you to smash the like button. Let me know in the comments which rule, resonated with you the most. And look, if you're serious about leveling up your life across the board, but you're not sure where to start, I offer one-on-one coaching. We can jump on a call and figure out exactly what you need to focus on right now. Action plan to start moving forward. Link is in the description. I didn't have anyone to show me these things when I was coming up. I had to go find my own mentors. I've invested my own money in it, and it's been the best investment I've ever had. I've had to make my own mistakes and learn these lessons the hard way, but you don't have to. All right. Subscribe to this channel because I'm dropping videos like this every week, constantly real talk about what it takes to build a life worth living as a man in 2025. So that's all I got for you guys today, King. Stay ascending, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.